New day, new goals, let's own it. And in this episode of Leaders Create Leaders, we're getting ready to meet up with the world-class speaker himself, Yahya Bakkar. He's a motivational speaker, confidence coach. He's spoken at Harvard University, TEDx. You know, he's literally worked with not only myself, but other unbelievable leaders that teach them how to master their craft of public speaking so that you can go on stage and truly inspire and impact a massive audience through your signature story. But we're gonna get into the backstory of Yaya on how he really had an identity crisis growing up because of his circumstances with his parents. I'm not gonna give you too much information, but it's definitely one of the most inspiring stories that I've ever heard, and it's proof that your past circumstances does not determine your future. So let's get right to it. The untold story of none other than the world-class speaker himself, Yahya Bakkar.
Have this story, and it all started somewhere, and I know that you've had some dark moments to get to where you are today, and I want to tap into, like, who is Yaya? How did it all begin?
You know, I was born in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, which was the holy land for Muslims all around the world. My father is Syrian, and my biological mother, she's from Thailand, right? So there's automatically a very unique mix there. And they gave me the name Yaya, and in Arabic, Yaya means alive. And so growing up, I always felt like I had to live up to my name. But the biggest challenge for me was a few months after I was born, both my father and my birth mother, they separated. And my dad, you know, he got married at a very, very young age. He couldn't really support himself, so he ended up marrying other women. Not to throw my father under the bus, but my dad got married 10 different times with 10 different women over the years. And I kind of like grew up not knowing where I belonged. I grew up not knowing how I fit in. And in order for me to survive, I had to like fit in or become a chameleon to adapt. So my dad got married with his third wife, who became my stepmother. She was a US citizen, but her nationality, she's from Iraq. And basically I flew into New Jersey from Saudi Arabia when I was 5 years old. And I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey. And I remember how alone I felt. Because I came by myself, my dad wasn't there. He was like, and then here is my stepmom who comes out of nowhere. It's like, I'm your mom, I'm gonna take care of you. Never seen her or anything like that. Wow. And I remember going to Newark Airport, and that day her bag got stolen. As she was like picking me up, her bag got stolen, so I got to witness that. So immediately there was fear moving into the unknown. And so like, I was like, I gotta figure out how to adapt, how to survive. So I learned certain skills in order to kind of like fit in. I became a chameleon. I never knew who I was, and so it's like, growing up, the biggest challenge for me was like, who am I really? Like, what am I really about? So I went through like an identity crisis, you know, during my middle school, my high school years. But in that process, I think when I was like 14, 15 years old, I became very, very religious in Islam. And the truth was, for me, and this is not for everybody, but for me, I wanted the acceptance and approval from my father. That's what I really, really wanted. You know, and my dad was very religious, and I was born in the holy land in the world, you know, all over the world for Muslims. And I was like, you know what, maybe if I become religious, he'll love me more. And I confused acceptance and approval for love. And I became very, very religious, and I even broke up with my high school girlfriend, who's now my wife, but I ended up breaking up with her because I was like, listen, in the Islamic faith, we can't be dating. And she basically said, well, can you teach me your ways?
Oh, wow.
Can you teach me your ways? I want to know. And I was like, all right, cool. So we wouldn't hook up or anything like that. I would just call her at night and just be like, okay, so go to chapter 1 in the Quran. And I would read to her, and I would try to prove to her why my religion was right and hers was wrong.
Wow.
And she was like, she just fucking opened me up, because her heart was like, well, you know, this is what I learned. Can you tell me? So because I saw the sincerity and the vulnerability and the genuineness inside of her, I was like, well,
real love.
Yeah, real love.
See it.
Right. And I was just coming from like, I'm right, you're wrong. She's like, well, show me. And
Wow, no ego.
no ego, right? Vulnerability is the absence of ego. So I basically started reading the Bible. I read the King James Version of the Bible. And I was trying, just kind of say like, reading it, trying to tell her why her thing was wrong and why mine was right. And then I just one day, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I remember the feeling. I was like, hold on. If I was born with completely different parents at a different time and they had a different religion, would I be as gung-ho on saying that I'm right here? And this is the religion, this is the truth. And I didn't know the answer to that. The honest answer is like, I don't know. And so I started reading different books on spirituality. So I read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Buddhist book. I read the Bhagavad Gita. And this is all during my 14, 15, 16 years because I'm trying to figure out where I belong, who I am in this process. And so that journey kind of led me through what I call an identity crisis. And throughout that journey, I never told my father the truth about my spiritual journey. So I was living a lie behind the scenes. Every time I would go see my dad, I would pretend to be someone that I wasn't. Right. I would pray 5 times a day just because I want him to be like, good son, Yeah. And that went all the way through until I was about 25.
A lot of us are lost, we're confused, we don't even know what really truly makes us special. And with Yaya, he went through exactly that. In fact, I think we all have. But we're gonna get into the part of the story on which Yaya truly had to discover who he truly was and why it's so important that each and every one of us taps into that.
I majored in physiology and health, still on the pre-med, pre-dental track. And then I remember clear as day, I'm in my organic chemistry class, Professor Liram was talking, and it was almost as if like, you ever have that moment where like the sound around you becomes like very low and the voice inside of your head gets really, really loud?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like
brings me back to that when I had my finals.
Yeah.
I dropped out.
Right, and well, that's exactly what happened to me. So I'm like, I'm in this moment as, I love Dr. Liram, and he's going, and I'm just like, this is not for me. I'm living a lie. I'm doing this for my parents. So I literally walk out, and there was a piano room. And I sat there in front of the piano. Like, imagine how lonely I looked. Like, I was just like sitting there, and I'm just sitting at the piano, not even playing, but just like this. And I'm thinking like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, what am I supposed to do? Because this is my whole identity. My whole identity was to become successful, become a doctor so my dad could be proud of me and accept me. Yeah. And then it was just like, I went into my dorm room and I remember going into the corner of my room crying in fetal position. Yep. I leave the school, fly back to New Jersey. I'm the oldest of 7 brothers and sisters, so I'm knocking on the door. I went to my dad's house because I have no place to stay. I knock on the door. My youngest brother, his name is Mohammed. He was 5 years old at the time. He comes in, he's like, yeah. He looks like Theodore from Alvin and the Chipmunks. So like I walk in and then I see my dad and I call him Baba. I'm like, hey Baba, I got some news, and I have 2 of my big bags. Bob? Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. So yeah, that's insane. So I go in, and then I'm like, listen, I'm not gonna become a doctor. The whole energy shifts. My dad is like, what do you mean? Go back and finish what you started. I said, I don't want to do it. And that was a turning point, if you want to call it a turning point. That was the moment, the first step to say like, okay, I'm gonna reclaim my identity. I'm gonna be my own person. And so I shifted from my dad saying, go back and finish what you started, to what's next? And my dad said, if you don't go back and finish what you start, you're not allowed to stay in this house anymore.
Ooh, man.
So my friend heard about my situation. He invited me into his home. It was in Hawthorne, New Jersey. And he goes up to his mom and he's like, hey Ma, Yaya's gonna stay with us for a while until he could get himself together. And she starts flipping out because this was like, she's an Italian mother. And she's
my dad did the same thing.
Right, they would go crazy. And so I go there and he's like, Ma, if Yaya doesn't stay in the house, I'm not living in the house anymore. And that was like the power of friendship. I was like, wow, like he really cares about me. So I go up into his room and I'm laying down on his bed. There was no frame, I'm just laying down on the floor. And I'm staring at the ceiling thinking like, wow, I'm such a dumbass. Let me just go back and finish what I started. If only I just went back, I wouldn't have to deal with any of this. Nothing. Right. And then my friend just comes in, his name's Mike, he just lays down next to me. It was awkward at first because we were laying in the same bed, but lays down next to me and then he was like, yo, think you should become a motivational speaker and life coach for young people. And I look at him, I'm like, dude, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. No one's gonna listen to a 22-year-old college dropout give life advice. I wouldn't listen to myself, right? And he's like, dude, you should think about it. I slept on it. Next day I went on Google and I typed in like motivational speaking and life coaching programs. And then I found like 2 programs. One is by a guy named Josh Shipp, who's the founder of You Speaker University, and the other was a guy named Tony Robbins, who's the founder of Robbins Madonna's Training. And I look at the programs, like $9,000 combined. Where am I gonna get $9,000 if I wanna be a part of this? I had $50,000 of debt, no job, no degree, and I'm staying at my friend's house, and I have $47 in my bank account, my checking account. But there's a video that Tony Robbins talks about. It's not about having the resources, it's about being resourceful. So I was like, you know what? I'm at rock bottom. The only way I got to go is up. So I just got resourceful. I started calling everybody that I knew. Hey, I haven't talked to them in like 20 years. Hey, do you remember me? Oh, yeah. Do you believe in me? Yeah. So look, I need $9,000. Boop. Exactly, that's what happened. But 2 people took the risk. And I ended up raising $4,000, and then I got a job as a waiter, and then a chiropractor's assistant, part-time, and I took all that money and invested in both of those programs.
Just did whatever it took.
Whatever it took, because I got no choice. I didn't have the luxury to fail.
Right. So what happens next? So you study that, you finally get the money to get into those programs.
Yeah, and I implement. I'm a huge believer of imperfect action, right? Like just implementation, speed of implementation. Like I believe we live in a generation of infobesity. Right, everyone is struggling consuming more information. So what I did was like, all right, here's what I need to do, step 1, now apply. Here's what I need to do, step 2, apply. Here's what I did, step 3, apply. So I just applied everything that I did, and it was tough for the first year. Getting my first 10 speaking engagements was super, super hard, but I ended up doing that. Within a year later, I became Student of the Year at You Speaker University. I was the youngest graduate at Tony Robbins' coaching program, and then it's like my whole career just blew up. Like I started my speaking career on January 2011. Fast forward 2 years, I'm having a conversation with my best friends. These guys are my soul brothers. I would risk my life for them. I love them to death. And nobody really knew this, but after I graduated high school, I wanted to become a personal trainer. But one of my biggest dreams was to find my birth mom. I wanted to look for my mom again because I felt like if I found my mom, I could put all the missing pieces of my life back together. Right. And I'd figure out, everything would make sense. For 8 years straight, I did whatever I could. Nothing. I called the Red Cross, I called the Thai embassy, I called nothing. So after a while, when you have a dream or a plan, or like a vision that you want to achieve, you get discouraged if you don't get the results that you want, right? So literally, December 2012, so a month before I hung out with my best friends, I gave up. I threw in the towel. I said, maybe it's not meant to be. So fast forward to January 3rd, I'm sitting down having this conversation. All of a sudden, my buddy Osama says, hey guys, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Everybody starts sharing. Antoine shares, Abe shares, Osama shares. Then I go, and I was like, man, 5 years from now, I'm gonna be a best-selling author, I'm gonna have my own TV show, I'm gonna impact millions of lives, I'm gonna do all that kind of stuff. And then Osama, he's my grounding, he checks me, right? He's like, yo, you always talk about your career, bro. What do you want personally? They've been my best friends for years, since high school. I never told them I wanted to find my mom.
Right.
Never. Because I wanted to keep it personal. Maybe I didn't want to disappoint anybody or anything like that. And in that moment, it just opened up the space to be super vulnerable and just be like, I've been looking for my mom. I really want to find her. And dude, the level, it was so powerful because they all looked at me. Why didn't you say anything? Why are you doing this on your own? You're not a lone wolf, we're a pack. Let's do this together. Wow. The moment we committed to that, kid you not, I swear to God, the candle blew out. I don't know what was going on there, but I just remember that going out, and we looked at each other and we're like, yo, let's do this. Ever since then, January 3rd, every single day after that, within the next 3 weeks, there were synchronicities. People coming in, everything showing up, everything was effortless. And then on January 24th, so 3 weeks later, I sit down for my laptop and I begin writing this letter. And the letter was basically a thank you letter to go find my mom. And my intention with that letter was like, I wanted to go viral in Thailand, because that's where my mom was from. Hopefully she would find it. So I wrote that letter, and I went, before I could post it up, I was like, I went on Facebook, I wrote, does anybody know how to translate English into the Thai language to help me find my mom? Get a bunch of comments from people. One person private messaged me. Her name is Beth. And Beth was someone who I met at a party at the school that I went to where they taught meditation, right? And she's like, hey Yaya, so I noticed you're looking for your mom. I don't know anybody very, very well, but my transcendental meditation teacher, she's a head meditation teacher in Bangkok, Thailand. Why don't you just try to reach out to her? Here's her Facebook name. So I reach out to this lady, that's the only connect that I have. Turns out that this lady has a brother who has a #1 TV show in Thailand. And dude, and his show has a history of reuniting parents and children after being separated for decades. So I'm thinking like, what are the odds of that? So next day I get an email from a TV host basically saying, Yaya, my team and I, we read your letter, we want to help you find your mom, but we can't make any promises. I'm like, okay, nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Right.
January 30th. So mind you, this is 27 days later after I hang out with my best friends. I get a call in the middle of the night. On the caller ID, there was a foreign number, and underneath it was the word Thailand. I wasn't expecting the TV host to call me, so I'm like, hello? Hi, is this Yaya? Yes, who's this? Yaya, it's me. I'm your mom. Bro, I felt like I was in a dream, like Inception. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this is what? Like, who's this? It's me, I'm your mom. And I'm in shock. I remember Kate, we're sleeping together, and she's like, wait, what's going on? What's happening? I was like, babe, it's my mom, it's my mom. Oh, we get off the call, I'm in tears. The TV host basically says, hey, you want to surprise your mom in Thailand? So I literally go, I fly next month, I raise as much money as I can. I want to buy all my best friends tickets and Kate, because I want them to witness what they helped create. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have done that after that conversation. So we all go fly to Thailand, and she has no idea that I'm going to be there. And we reunite on national television.
น้ำส้มครับ orange juice ครับ orange juice orange โอเค ตื่นเต้น ทำไมถึงคิดว่าชีวิตของเรานี่มันจะตื่นเต้นอะไรมากขนาด
ไม่นึกคือเหมือนตอนนี้ยังนึกว่าเราฝันไปนะคะ
ฝันนะฮะ
ค่ะทุกอย่างเนี่ยเข้ามาเมื่อก่อนมันจะเป็น
Hi, Mom. It was surreal. It was honestly the highlight of my life. I was 25 years old when that happened. And it was like the biggest dream come true. You know, and I was like, wow, everything made sense. So, I've never shared this publicly in this context. In that moment, I honestly felt like I had the world in my hands. 4 months later, I invite my mom to come visit me from Thailand. I get her a visa. And for the first 5 days, everything's amazing. I take her to New York City. She sees the Big Apple for the first time. And on the 5th day, something happened, which was like, I think it was a miscommunication. My stepmother, she calls me, the mother who raised me. And she's like, hey, I saw your picture. I hope you and your mom are having fun. And they were on good terms. And she says, can you ask your mom, like, how much was her Louis Vuitton bag in Thailand? I would like to buy one there, because they're very expensive here. And I grew up in, like, we were in Patterson, New Jersey. We didn't have much, right? So I'm like, okay, it was an innocent question. So my buddy Abe was about to pick us up to go to the airport to drop one of my other friends. And so my mom and I were sitting in the kitchen, and she puts her bag on the table. And I remember what my stepmom asked, and I was like, Mom, Yasmin, my stepmom, she wants to know how much your bag is in Thailand, because they're very expensive here. She'll pay for it. I don't know what happened, dude. I don't know what happened, but it was almost as if like everything switched off. Her whole physiology changed. And I could read body language pretty well. Like something was off energetically. I was like, Mom, is everything okay? She was like, yeah, I'm fine. It wasn't fine. So then all of a sudden I hear beep, beep, beep. And then my friend comes in the driveway. I'm like, Mom, let's go. And we sit in the back seat of the car. And we're on our way to Newark Airport to drop my friend off. And I'm looking at my mom like, what's going on? Like, this is weird. So I grab her hand. You know, like you grab somebody's hand to like console them? She snatches her hand away from me. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what's going on here? The whole ride there was weird. We get to the airport, we say bye to my friend, I get on the passenger seat, I'm sitting down, and then all of a sudden on our way back home, my mom starts flipping out in like every single language she knows. She starts cursing, and to the point where she punched me in the back of my head. Yeah, like I'm just as shocked as you in this moment. So I'm like, wait, what's, and I'm in shock. I'm holding my best friend's hand, Abe, and he's whispering in my ear, this has nothing to do with you. This has nothing to do with you. So once we get to the driveway, we pull up, I'm crying on his shoulder. My mom gets out. Kate's mom, she comes in. She works as a nurse from St. Joseph's Hospital. So she comes in. She has no idea what's going on. My mom is flipping out. He's not a good son. He's not a good son. He's not a good son. Going crazy. And I'm crying, and then she bangs on the window. I want to go to Thailand. I want to go to Thailand. Buy my ticket to go to Thailand. I want to go back home. I'm like, Mom, you have 5 more days. I've never felt so worthless in my life in that moment. All my friends come, they leave work to come see what's going on. And I'm still confused. The taxi's about to come take her to the airport. I go upstairs one more time to see like, I knock on the door to see if I could fix it. Because I'm trying to figure out like what did I do wrong, right? Yeah. So I knock on the door, open, I see both of her bags packed up. And I look at my mom and said, Mom, look, what did I do wrong? Yeah. I had my baby picture, it's a portrait of her and I just right next to her bed. She takes the frame, takes the picture out of the frame, rips it up in front of me and says, "You're not my son," and throws it in my face. I just blacked out. In that moment, it's funny, I tried to put on a facade. It wasn't the child anymore, it was the motivational speaker life coach to come in. And I tried to reframe the whole thing, like, oh, you know, everything happens for a reason, everything is good. And my buddy Assam was like, yo, it's okay, like, this is tough, it's okay. And I wouldn't allow myself to feel it, right? So I was like, nah, it's all right. And I was just like, you know, fuck her. You know, I just got so mad. I just started puffing up. And then I acted like everything was okay. I would go up on stage, I'm still speaking. I want to go up on stage and I would still act like everything was okay, but behind the scenes, I'm crying. I would stay up late at night. I'm trying to figure out like, why is this happening to me? Dude, till 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm trying to figure out everything. I get to a point a couple months later, I'm like, you know what, it's fine. I want to propose to Kate on our 10-year anniversary.
I'm sure she was there for you.
She was there throughout the whole thing, and I'm like, you know what? Let's move on. The past is the past. Forget about it. You know, the grass is greener on the other side. I'm not gonna dwell on it. And so I'm like, all right, let me. Like the big thing for me is I want to start my family. So I proposed to Kate on our 10-year anniversary. It was August, so I reunited with my mom on February. She came on April, and then I proposed on August 12th, and it was amazing. I'm like, okay, everything's okay. You know, I can rise above this. I can defy it all, no matter what happens to me. And I go to my father. I fly out to my father. I'm living in Jersey. He lives in Florida at the time. So I go and I fly him, and I want to invite him to come to my wedding. And he says, you know, are you having a Muslim wedding or not? Mind you, at this point, I've never told him about my spiritual beliefs. I'm 25 years old, I'm a grown-ass man, and I can't be who I really am in front of my father because I'm afraid to lose whatever I have left of him
Right.
in my relationship.
Yeah. And you've gone through losing your mother.
Yes, and I'm just like, they're the people who brought me into this world. I don't want to.
Right.
They're part of my identity.
Yeah.
And so, I look at my dad dead in the eye. I'm like, of course I'm like. You listen. He's like, are you Muslim or are you not Muslim? And I lied to him. I said, of course I am. You know, like, of course I'm Muslim. Like, I would pray. I'd pray 5 times a day, and I'm telling him this entire lie. He's like, okay, then I'll come from wherever I am. My dad is a travel agent. I'll come from wherever I am in the world to come support you. And then I fly back home to Jersey, 3 days go by, and I'm crying every single night. And I'm telling like, God, universe, like why? Why does it have to happen to me? Why do I have to be put in this situation? Why does everything have to start crumbling down? And it was just like a point, I was like, it's exhausting trying to be someone that you're not.
Yeah.
It's exhausting walking on eggshells. It's exhausting pretending as if you're someone just to win the approval and acceptance and validation from someone who's supposed to love you. So I called my father, I'm like, Bob, I need to be honest with you. When you ask me if I was Muslim or not, like, I'm not gonna give you the answer that you wanna hear. This is the truth. If you wanna call me Muslim, you might as well call me Christian, a Hindu, a Jew, or a Buddhist, because I don't believe in labeling myself. Mind you, this is the scariest thing I've ever wanted, like, I never wanted to share this in front of my father.
Oh, yeah.
And I said that, and he's like, you're not my son. Hangs up the call. So he disowned me. And this was when I started spiraling down. So I ended up like hiring a therapist. I ended up doing like body-centered therapy, a lot of personal work, and it took about 1 year to 2 years to really go in. And it was so freaking uncomfortable because I was opposed to vulnerability.
Right.
I hated vulnerability. Like, I'm not gonna go in there.
That's where the dark, for you, it was like, that's the darkness.
I wanted to disown that.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of us do, right? Like we don't want to go back there. We don't want to own who we are.
It's scary.
It's scary to take ownership of who you are.
Yeah, but like that was the only option that I had. Because if I didn't show up for myself, I was never gonna be able to show up.
You would live in regret.
And I would live in regret, and I would repeat the pattern of dysfunction that I grew up with.
Right.
I wanted, instead of acceptance or approval, I wanted the applause, which was another form of validation for me.
Right.
So it was another front that I was putting up and acting like, maybe if I show up as successful and I have everything figured out, my dad I'll get him back and he'll see like he was wrong.
And you were good at it. I mean,
dude,
you're great at it. I mean,
I can put on
anyone who can get people to give a standing ovation, it's this man right
man,
here. I mean,
thank you, dude.
95% of the time, you have a standing ovation.
Thank you. And look, it has its place. But what I've learned is that people don't want a performance from you. They want the real you. Yeah. And finally, once I started giving myself permission to be imperfect in public, in any context, that's when I started feeling like me again.
Alive.
That's when I felt
that was
alive.
The alive Yaya.
Yes, and this is the thing. Alive for me, and for any of you like here who are wondering, how can you become unapologetically self-expressed? How can you be yourself in front of any context, medium, on camera, on stage? Here it is, alive. Be authentic, likable, influential, vulnerable, and empathetic with whoever you're speaking to. Otherwise, if you're not alive, you're dead. Anytime you get on camera or on stage, which is like disappointing, embarrassing, annoying, and dreadful to watch and listen to. Nobody wants to see a dead person, right? It's just annoying. So the thing that will make you come more alive is you owning your history and getting clarity on your identity.
Yes.
So the thing that I was so ashamed of, that I was like in the dark for so long, now have become my greatest gifts. And the reason why I'd like to feel and believe that I'm able to be authentic and I do my best to be transparent in everything that I do. I'm not perfect by any means, but I do my best. Is simply because I had to do a lot of the inner work. So when I'm coaching these clients to help them become world-class speakers, and it's really therapeutic in a sense, because I'm like, oh, the reason why you're not connecting with your audience is because you haven't connected to your previous story, your own heart, the things that made you feel pain, the things that put you in the dark. Right. But I promise you, once you own up and you show up in all your capacity to say like, this is me, this is my past. I'm not ashamed that, yeah, I smoked weed and I hustled. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I was addicted to drugs. Yeah, I was addicted to sex and gambling.
I was broke, I was homeless.
And you own that.
Yes, take
that. Yes. Your imperfections will make you more influential. period.
Own your story. It's literally the reason why we have own inside the brand founders. You have to take ownership of your imperfections. Trust me when I tell you, you may have heard this before, but it's a lot harder said than done. But the moment that you become comfortable with being vulnerable with an audience and just in day-to-day life, it's when people will truly relate to you. It's when you'll actually connect and really step up as an influencer. And that's what's gonna give you your true power, because you're living your truth, you're living your authentic self. But you know, a lot of people are so scared because of social media today to truly understand that their imperfections are what make us unique. And the moment that you start living your truth, you know who you are, you take ownership of your imperfections, you will realize that it is your strongest asset, and it is the moment that you will truly connect and inspire those around you.
I just realized it was over for me. And the reason why is because, again, you were saying like some people, they just want the highlight reel. And I tried to share the other side of what happened as I reunited with my mom, but nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody wanted to hear it when I got up on stage, because they wanted to see like, oh, success and the motivation. So that was a clue for me to kind of like shift. Like, okay, I can't do that. And a huge desire for me is to be unapologetically self-expressed in everything that I do. In all my relationships, like if I can't be who I am, I'm doing a disservice to you, right? And so when I get up, I just give an image. So there was this process, like a 3 to 4 year period where I was like, all right, I think I'm done. But I didn't know what to do next. And I didn't have the courage to say like, okay, I'm gonna leave this behind. And it wasn't until January of 2017, I was in a mastermind with some of the top youth speakers in the country, and everybody was going. Like everybody's taking their turn. There's like about 12 people. Everybody was sharing like what they've learned in the past year, what they're excited about the next year. Everybody was going, and I was the last person. And literally, when it got to me, I just started bawling. I just started crying because I felt like I was living a lie.
Right.
And I felt like I was done, and I didn't know what I had a plan B. But that was the moment. That was the moment that I said, even though that I don't know what the next step is, I know that this is done for me. And so I publicly declared that I was done speaking to high schools and colleges. And this was a shock for everybody because I was just rising up in that industry. I decided to commit to what was true for me.
Yeah.
The moment I did that, dude, I kid you not, all the people, places, and circumstances and opportunities started showing up for me without me trying. It was just like, as if, you know, God or the universe was like, hey, you made this decision and I'm gonna test your commitment, so here are the people for you. And I just started moving forward step by step, and it almost like it unfolded naturally. It wasn't like, it wasn't strategic, I didn't have a plan or anything like that. And there was this huge desire that started boiling up inside of me of not wanting to be in the spotlight anymore, but helping others who deserve to be on the spotlight shine and be seen and heard. Because I've done that. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing, but like we need different messengers for the same exact message, right? And your stories, the things that you went through, if you and I could say the same message, but because of what you lived and what you've gone through, another person will be able to listen to you over me or vice versa. And so it is like, that's when I felt like a duty, an obligation.
Leaders create leaders.
All right, guys, so I hope you really loved this episode. I mean, listen, everybody needs different messengers for the same message. So I hope that at least one of you watched this story and it truly impacted you. We've now interviewed over 48 leaders, all showing you that you can live life on your terms. No excuse, no circumstance, whether it's your parents, people who've doubted you in your community, friends, bosses, people that just have tried to hold you down, can hold you down. Literally, you have the ability to own your story, take complete ownership of your life and your destiny. So I hope that this episode has inspired you guys. I read all of your comments, so please comment, share this with your friends, make sure to subscribe, and we have a challenge for you. We want you to open up about your vulnerabilities. So over these next 30 days, we challenge you to take 10 things that you've never opened up about to your community and make a video, or an Instagram post, post it, and tag us. 10 things throughout this month that nobody's ever known about you. Because the moment that you own your imperfections and take full ownership of your life is the moment that you start creating life on your terms. Over and out, your boy GA. Hope you guys loved the episode. Peace.